Welcome everybody. This is the first video on my channel, and for future reference, this was made during the 2026 World Cup. So I thought to myself, what if I made a video about the World Cup? So this is a video about a fact from every single World Cup, starting from 1930 and coming until 2026. All 41 teams in FIFA were invited, but in the end, only 13 showed up, 7 of which were from South America. This is the most number of South Americans to ever participate in a tournament. The location for the World Cup, Uruguay, was inconvenient for most countries, given that commercial flights weren't available yet. It was the 1930s after all. So in order to make it there, they'd have to take a month-long boat trip from wherever they came from to Uruguay. FIFA may as well have asked them to take a bite out of the moon. The 1934 World Cup was suspected to be chock full of corruption, especially when Italy, the host nation, won the whole thing. In fact, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini personally handpicked the refs and bribed them to be partial towards Italy. Unpopular opinion, he did slightly worse things than rigged football matches. Italy were awarded the special Coppa del Duce, that's my best Italian accent, which was 6 times larger than the Jules Rimet trophy, the normal trophy that would be awarded to the winners at the time. This World Cup, Italy showed that they didn't need favouritism to win the tournament, as they became the first team to win the tournament twice back-to-back. They also qualified for the World Cup this year, only to be taken over by a certain failed painter with questionable facial hair. They had to withdraw from the tournament and merge with their new overlords, Germany. If you're wondering, they went out in the first round. They weren't very good. This is the first World Cup after World War II, Electric Boogaloo. Surprisingly, no one was sent off the entire tournament, which is the only World Cup where that was the case. The 1950 World Cup was also the only one without an own goal scored. The 1954 World Cup, won by West Germany, it was an absolute goal fest. Across the whole tournament, 140 goals were scored, and a record 5.38 goals per match. Not only that, but Hungary managed to score 27 goals in that tournament, the most goals scored by a country in a single tournament. All that just to bottle a 2-goal lead against West Germany in the final after the Germans came out with brand spanking new Adidas boots, scoring 3 goals in the second half to win the match. The highest scoring World Cup match ever also took place during this World Cup when Austria beat host Switzerland 7-5. 4 teddy bears with 1 leg each could probably do a better defensive job than that. Brazil won their first World Cup title that year, beating Switzerland 5-2 in the final, the highest scoring World Cup final in history. I'm honestly kind of surprised that it didn't take place in the 1954 World Cup, since all the defenders were on vacation that year. A little-known player known as Edson Arantes dos Nascimento, I don't know how to pronounce it, man, I'm sorry, became the youngest scorer in a World Cup final and the youngest winner. Brazil went back-to-back this year, with star player Garrincha stepping up in Pele's absence to score 4 goals that tournament, winning the Golden Boot. Unfortunately for him, 5 other players also scored the same amount of goals as him, getting their grimy hands on the award as well. How silly. Football came home this year, as hosts England won the tournament for the first and, unfortunately for me, the last time. I'm an England fan, I hate to say it. This is the first time yellow cards and red cards were used in football, as before the invention, sending someone off was slightly more complicated than just holding up a colourful piece of paper, especially if the player and the ref spoke a different language. This World Cup, Brazil became the first national team to earn 3 stars, winning their 3rd World Cup in 12 years. This World Cup was also the first World Cup to be broadcasted globally in, get this, colour. This cemented the World Cup as a truly global event that could be enjoyed by millions across the world. West Germany got to lift the trophy in their own backyard this year. Instead of lifting the old Jules Rimet trophy, they got to lift the new and improved, drumroll please. I cannot be the only one doing a drumroll, guys, come on. The World Cup trophy. Yep, that's the official name. I can only wonder how they came up with that. Designed by Silvio Gazzaniga, this trophy was the one that most of us know and love today. Much like the World Cup hosted 44 years earlier in Italy, Argentina hosted the World Cup this year as a propaganda machine for their dictatorship. As a result, I don't think anybody would be too surprised to know that, well, they won. This was the last World Cup with only 16 teams, as the next tournament would have 24 teams instead. Italy became the second country to win 3 World Cups. The weird thing about this victory is the fact that it was the longest gap between 2 consecutive World Cup wins of any nation, with 44 years in between their victory in 1938 and their victory in 1982. To put this into perspective, their manager, Enzo Bearzot, another name that I probably mispronounced this video, was only 11 years old when he last saw his country win the World Cup. This World Cup also saw the oldest ever World Cup winner, Dino Zoff, who was 40 years old when he lifted the trophy, although he still wasn't born by the time Italy last won the World Cup. Yeah, I prefer not to talk about who won this World Cup or how they won it. Why Maradona? Why? Handballs aside, the hosts Mexico were more or less an afterthought, as the tournament was initially supposed to be hosted in Colombia, but it had to be switched to Mexico last minute because Colombia was not prepared for a 24-team tournament, and they had their own economic woes to deal with. Won by West Germany the year before their reunification, the 1990 World Cup was probably really boring to watch. More boring than watching paint dry, but still less boring than watching Arsenal nowadays. I should know, I'm an Arsenal fan. I hate to say it. I'm not that bad though. I still know that Messi's better than Saka. It had the lowest scoring matches, with an average of 2.21 goals per game. That's basically like every game being a 1-1 draw. The 1994 World Cup was absolute cinema. Or so I've heard. If you couldn't tell, I wasn't born yet. Brazil won the final against Italy on penalties, the first final to be decided on penalties. This year was also hosted by the United States of America, which ironically had the highest average attendance of any World Cup before or since, with an average of 69,000 fans packed into a hot American stadium surrounded by miles of parking lot. Compared to this World Cup, which is also hosted by the United States, and Canada, and Mexico, but they don't really matter that much. Those are colossal numbers. Seeing that the attendance numbers are so low in this World Cup because people don't want to spend half their life savings on a seat that is so far away from the action that you may as well watch the game from Mars. I'm just saying. The 1998 World Cup saw France win the tournament for the first time in their own home. Don't worry, no government corruption has been tied to this win. Yet. This World Cup, despite being the last in the century, brought a lot of firsts. The biggest change was an upgrade from 24-team tournament to a 32-team tournament, which is the best format, and I refuse to hear another word about it. This was also the first tournament to use the golden goal rule. This was first used in the round of 16 fixture between France and Paraguay, when French defender Laurent Blanc put the ball past the Paraguayan keeper in the 113th minute of the game, immediately sending the South American side home. A new century, but no new winners, as Ronaldo Nazário, Brazil, beat Germany, West and East this time, in the final, to win their 5th World Cup, a record that is yet to be beaten. This was also the first World Cup hosted in Asia, and also the first one hosted between 2 different countries, Korea and Japan. This year also saw the fastest goal scored in World Cup history, with Turkey's Hakan Şükür. Yeah, I had no hope for that one. Scoring within 11 seconds, which is probably faster than I can say, like and subscribe. Good reminder for you guys to do so, by the way. Okay, I was lying. That only took about 2 seconds to say. Still like and subscribe, though. It really helps me out. The 2006 World Cup saw a tense battle between Italy and France in the final, one which Italy ended up winning on penalties. The 2000th goal in the World Cup history was scored during this tournament as well by Swede Marcus Albeck. It's time for Africa for the first time in World Cup history, and South Africa hosts the World Cup. Spain won their first World Cup, beating the Netherlands in the final 1-0. The final had a total of 14 yellow cards, including this monstrosity, which is the most yellow cards in a final match. Spain also scored the least amount of goals for a winning team, only scoring 8 along their way to the victory. Germany won their 4th World Cup this year, giving the host Brazil the 7-1 spanking, a game more infamous in the final, despite happening in the semis. All excessive, don't you think? This was also the first World Cup with goal line technology, used in the group stage match between France and Honduras for the first time in World Cup history. Unfortunately, Lampard will think that technology came about 4 years too late. Another political World Cup. This World Cup was hosted in Russia this time, and it saw more technological advancements in the game of football. The biggest example was the introduction of VAR, which stands for Video Assistant Referee. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It assists referees into making decisions about certain incidents using video replay footage. The VAR turned out to be about as controversial as the tournament itself. Oh, why do these World Cups keep getting more and more political? Brother, you ain't seen nothing yet. The 2022 World Cup was also pretty political in the fact that the host, Qatar, had a few issues surrounding it. First of all, the way that they got their host status was basically by bribing FIFA into getting that position. Secondly, a lot of humanitarian issues also surrounded this World Cup leading up to it, as workers' rights were basically thrown into the bin in order to construct this World Cup. Yeah, that was a bit of a heavy topic. Now, on a lighter note, the World Cup had the greatest goal tally of any World Cup before, having a total of 172 goals scored across the entire tournament. I think everybody knows that this World Cup had the greatest final of all time, when Argentina beat France on penalties after an exhilarating back-and-forth match. You know what, guys, I've had a long day. I am not explaining to you the politics of this one. It's just too crazy. Despite objectively having the worst World Cup anthem of all time and the worst World Cup logo of all time, this World Cup has been expanded to 48 teams, which I personally don't think is the best format, but if you think otherwise, let me know in the comments. I think most of you also know that the smallest nation to ever compete in the World Cup, Curacao, also qualified this year, despite only having a population of around 160,000 people. Of course, I'm gonna make that video after the World Cup is already done, but y'all are smart enough to know that, right? And that's that. All 23 World Cups and the facts about them. Thank you for listening to me yap for however long that took. And if you liked the video, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. You know what to do. I'm not planning for this channel to entirely be about football. I'm just doing football for now because, well, it's the World Cup. But after the tournament's over, you'll still see some football content, but, don't expect it to entirely be football. I'm going to be yapping about some, nerdy things. We'll leave that for after the tournament. But for now, though, I'm out of here. Goodbye.